I'm so fired up and also awkward because there's things on my seat. Okay, because Faber Castell, I don't know when these came out, but I didn't ever see them before, and I saw them and I bought them at my local Jerry's Artorama. Watercolor markers, like what? I need to have them, so I bought them all. I love watercolor markers because they are a fine art product and they are a level up from Tombow's and Ecoline markers, which I also love, but those are dye-based. They're not light fast. They're very much more of a craft product. Watercolor markers, you are juicier, more pigmented, they're light fast, and I'm freaking obsessed. The only ones I have so far are the Winsor Newton ones. I'll show you those two. I bought these a while ago. I've been waiting with bated breath to open these till I had a minute, and today is the day. We're gonna unbox, we're gonna test, we're gonna compare. Let's go. All right, so really the only two products, although I'm gonna compare four just to because it's worth doing. So the real comparison here is between Faber Castell and the Winsor Newton, because these are really the only two that are in the actual fine art category. But just for the sake of comparison, and because I know these are the ones that most people have, are the Ecoline watercolor markers and the Tombow dual brush pens. I just rebought the portrait set for myself. I do use these all the time, and they come in awesome colors, and so I do want to test them out at the same time. But just make no mistake, they are entirely like kind of different products because of the ingredients inside the markers. So I'm like so excited. I don't even want to open this up. Okay, so just for a cost comparison, Winsor Newton, which have been out for a while, although they've been coming out with more and more colors. Oh, it's so awesome. These are really expensive. I've been buying them for about $6 a marker individually. They now finally have sets. The set of 12 is $90. So it shows you how expensive these are. Now this was over 100, I think it was 105, but there's 30 colors. So these are actually 3 times more expensive than these are. So if we can have in the Faber Castell version still the high pigmentation, still the light fastness, and a big variety of colors at a much less price, then that's kind of amazeballs. So I can't wait to test them out today and compare. So I did open the box once. There's no plastic on it anymore, but I haven't actually ever tested. I just like peeked in it and then I shut it. So as you can see, and see there's a flesh tone, which Winsor Newton does not have. I was hoping. So you get these. This is the big set. I think they have a 10, 20, and then a 30 pack. Oh God, these are just lashos. Just gonna take a moment and savor. I just love me a green and blue. Oh yeah, and I'm so excited that there's a flesh tone in there we get to play with. And then we have our earths. Ooh, and then our lovely, and there's some grayscale in there, which I also love. I love the Tombow grayscale set. So very excited. So when I'm testing, I literally like do like a juicy test. It's really all I'm interested in is like how juicy are these things? Because when I'm using them, I want to slap down a big yummy area of color and then take my water brush and make those colors flow. So yeah, these are the Ecolines, and they are comparable because they are watercolor markers too. But again, I don't believe, I'm almost 99% sure that these are not light fast and that these are dye based. I will double check. I think so. A big test too with these is a lot of with markers, like they go on really juicy and then you kind of need to, when they're still wet, that's when you go ahead and activate them. So I'm doing a little bit of a mean test today because I'm gonna let them all soak into the paper a little bit and then add the water and see how they work. But I do love Ecolines, and I also do love my Tombows. I'm gonna also test them in comparable colors. I think it's a better competition that way. They're not oh, should I have done this one? Didn't really look that hard. No, that's fine enough. Okay, so these are the Tombows. And these are both, I think the Tombows are the cheapest of these. I should double check that as well. But again, dye-based. These are nice because they do have the dual tip, whereas Ecoline doesn't. It just has the brush nib, although frankly, I pretty much only use the brush nib. Where's a comparable color for Winsor Newton? Maybe this one. I love testing products. It's so fun. Again, not really the same color family, but it's better than like a red and a green. This is Winsor Newton. Oh, but see, when I'm writing, this just is like gushing out ink. This is why I love Winsor Newton. They're really juicy. And also, and I will compare these two in a second. We can compare like the size of the brush nibs. Oh, actually, I haven't even done this yet. Let's do this one. So, ooh, okay. So this gives you a bullet and a brush. And I'm going to do I'll do a nib comparison in a second. Okay, so this doesn't feel as like bendy as this brush nib of the Winsor Newton. And this is, what is this called? Faber Castell. But yep, they are juicy. They need to be juicy. And then I'll compare the little bullet nibs in a second. So I'm actually gonna be super mean and dry this with my hair dryer. Make sure this is really, really dry before I wet them and give them the like water reaction test. And then I also will check on the Ecoline light fastness while I'm drying. Okay doke, I did check on the Ecolines and they are not light fast. They are, I thought so, they are just like the Tombows. They're filled with a dye-based ink versus like these are like true watercolor. These are like watercolors inside and the vehicle is simply the marker itself. So just different products on the inside. But again, because I know people use these all interchangeably and in the same way, I'm gonna load up my favorite watercolor brush and test the water solubility. So, oh my gosh, so I did dry these with a hair dryer for a few minutes. So this is the true test, and obviously, like, that is amazing. Good job, Ecoline. Okay, so same thing. Loading up my watercolor brush from Polina Bright. And we will do the same test. Oh yeah, same, awesome, awesome results. Not quite as saturated, or the value isn't quite as dark, but I for all I know, I didn't like swipe as many times or whatever. I love Tombows. All right, now this is the Winsor Newton. Again, same juicy brush. And then really seeing, now in this one, if you can see, I almost 100% eliminated the original line. I see a little bit, but I see more on these ones. So that is something to look for. This, I see two distinct lines. That's actually, that wasn't the original. That actually was not my original line. I think I like spread it and then that soaked in. So that is super juicy, yum, yum, yum. And then this is the last one, which is the Faber Castell, the new one that I have just bought. And yeah, this is very similar. I do see those underlining lines. All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with the letters because I'm trying to see. It's almost like, can I erase the letters? Aha. And I'm working with my Polina Bright watercolor brush. I just did a review on those recently. They are my favorites if you want to check that out. All right. So these are all super comparable. I don't know that I can say that there is a clear winner. There's no loser. They're all fantastic. They really, really are. I do think that the Winsor Newton is a more pigmented, but it's also the one that's not in the same color as the other three. So I don't know if that is affecting results in any way. But as you can see, there's no distinguishing characteristic differences, except I would say there is some granulation in these. So you can see, if you super zoom in, you can see there's some granulation, which is very common with watercolors because they're actual minerals making up the pigments. And so that is something you would see in watercolors and not something you would see in a synthetic dye-based product like that. And same thing with the Winsor Newton. If you look really closely, you can see some granulation, which just kind of goes to show you that these are true watercolor projects. So I'm really excited. I'm super excited about the skin tone color. I'm gonna have to do a little face test. I'm gonna be swatching these for sure, just to see what all these colors are. But as far as water solubility, I mean, these look awesome. And I really like that they're granulated and that the result is this granulation. And why watercolor markers is a really important question too. And the answer really of why you would use these is really just control. Applying watercolors with a brush and water is just a lot looser and dicier and more unpredictable. And when you can apply it, you know, with the precision of a marker, it's pretty cool. I do want to do the little nib comparison test real quick between these two. Well, I'll just do it between all of them. What the heck? So let's see. These guys, let's get all the nibs facing the right way. So what do we see here? So they're all a little bit different. That being said, they're all kind of similar. So it just looks like the Faber Castell is much wider nib. Winsor Newton is both wide and long. Ecoline's is pretty little, but I mean, these are very comparable. I do think that this being kind of coming out and then being lengthened does give it a more like flexible nib. This, I'm not getting any flex whatsoever. It's really like a felt tip. And this feels more like a brush because it's more bendy. Let me test the other two. Oh, this is bendy. This feels bendy to me. There's some flex in it. And this one is stiffer. So the Tombow feels much more like the Faber Castell in terms of like the flexy part of the nib. And then these two, I'm sorry, these having a lack of flex on the nib. And these two, the Ecoline and the Winsor Newton, both are more flexible. So super, super cool. So it's really exciting to know that there's more options on the market. I'm excited that these, while expensive, are much cheaper than the Winsor Newton. And I'm also excited that there's a skin tone included because Winsor Newton does not have a skin tone option. Now let's actually look at the other nib side for a minute. Now Ecoline doesn't have that, so we'll put that down. And as far as the little bullet, this little side's called the bullet. Obviously the Faber Castell has a much larger bullet than the other two. Tombow's is teeny weeny, and so is Winsor Newton. I honestly very rarely use my brush nib because the bullet nib, because your brush nib gives you that little teeny tiny point. So I hardly ever use this side anyways. This feels like a fine liner. The Tombow feels like a fine liner to me. This is just juicy. And this just feels like a regular small tip marker. So those are, you know, for me personally, because I don't use them, it's kind of here nor there. If you are a coloring book colorer artist, you would love the Tombow and the Winsor Newton because they're the teeny tiny. This one is pretty big, actually, the Faber Castell one, which works for me because I hate working small. So, you know, each to his own. That's why I do these reviews, so you can kind of check them out without having to buy them all. Don't worry, I'll just go ahead and buy them all for you, and then I will let you know what I find. All right, I'm gonna do a demo, but I think I might do it on a separate day. This video is plenty long as it is, so stay tuned for a full demo with those, and you can check out this playlist for some more of my product reviews. Thanks so much. Okay, I was gonna be done, but look, I just tested this really quick. Oh, that was my first swipe, and that was my second swipe. That's my third. Not sure what's going on here. That's my fourth. That's my fifth. Okay. Test your markers. Always, always, always test your marker. I'm going to leave you with that. I'll be back with a full demo. Bye.